In 1947, a cure for syphilis was discovered that could have saved hundreds of lives. The United States government knew about it. They chose not to use it because they wanted to see what happened when syphilis killed people slowly over decades. The men they were watching die were never told any of this was happening to them. This is the Tuskegee syphilis experiment, and it was not conducted by rogue scientists in a secret facility. It was an official United States Public Health Service program that ran for 40 years with full government approval. In 1932, the United States Public Health Service launched a study in Macon County, Alabama, one of the poorest counties in America. 399 black men with syphilis were recruited into the program. They were told they were being treated for bad blood, a local term that covered a range of ailments from anemia to fatigue to syphilis. They were not told they had syphilis. They were not told they were part of an experiment. They were told they were receiving free health care from the government. What they actually received was placebos, ineffective treatments, and careful observation as their disease progressed untreated through their bodies. The men were mostly sharecroppers with no education and no access to medical care. They trusted the government doctors who came to their community, offering free meals, free transportation, and free burial insurance in exchange for participation. They had no reason not to trust them. The study was originally designed to last 6 months. It ran for 40 years. In 1941, the United States entered World War II, and many of the study participants were drafted into the military. The Army's routine medical screening detected syphilis in several of the men and referred them for treatment. The Public Health Service intervened and had them removed from the treatment list so the experiment would not be contaminated. The government actively prevented these men from receiving treatment they were legally entitled to as military draftees. In 1947, penicillin became the standard treatment for syphilis and was widely available across the United States. It was a complete cure. The Public Health Service knew this. They chose not to give it to the men in Tuskegee. By this point, the study had long stopped being about observing untreated syphilis in a population that had never received treatment. The men had now been deliberately denied a cure that existed and was being given to syphilis patients across the rest of the country. This continued for another 25 years. Throughout the 1950s and 1960s, the men were monitored, examined, and studied as their conditions deteriorated. Some developed cardiovascular disease as the syphilis attacked their hearts. Some went blind. Some lost their minds as the infection reached their brains. Wives were infected by husbands who did not know they were carrying an untreated, sexually transmitted disease. 19 children were born with congenital syphilis, having contracted the disease before birth from their infected fathers. The men continued to receive their placebos and their free meals and their burial insurance and their trust in the government that was watching them die. The study might have continued indefinitely if not for a man named Peter Buxton. Buxton was a Public Health Service employee who had been raising concerns about the ethics of the Tuskegee study internally since 1966. He was ignored. In 1972, he leaked the details of the study to a journalist named Jean Heller. On July 25, 1972, the story appeared on the front page of newspapers across the United States. The public reaction was immediate and explosive. The study was shut down within days. By the time it ended, 28 men had died directly from syphilis. 100 had died from related complications. 40 wives had been infected. 19 children had been born with congenital syphilis. A class action lawsuit was filed on behalf of the survivors and their families. In 1974, the government settled for $10 million. No one was ever criminally charged. No doctor or official involved in the study faced any professional consequences. The men who ran the Tuskegee experiment continued their careers in medicine and public health. It took 25 years after the study ended for the United States government to formally apologize. In 1997, President Bill Clinton stood before a group of survivors, most of them elderly men in their 80s and 90s, and said the words that should have been said decades earlier. What the United States government did was shameful. I am sorry. 8 of the original study participants were still alive to hear it. The legacy of Tuskegee did not end with the apology. Researchers have documented a direct link between the Tuskegee experiment and reduced trust in the medical system among Black Americans that persists to this day. Studies have shown that Black men in counties with high awareness of the Tuskegee experiment are significantly less likely to seek medical care than those in areas with lower awareness. The researchers who analyzed this data estimated that the Tuskegee study reduced life expectancy for Black men in affected areas by up to 1.5 years. The experiment did not just kill the men inside it. Its shadow has been killing people ever since. The question Tuskegee asks is not whether your government is capable of doing something like this. It already did. The question is how a program that involved hundreds of federal employees, dozens of doctors, and 40 years of documentation managed to continue without a single person inside the system stopping it, and whether anything has actually changed.